A statement win for the LA Kings. We'll discuss that and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The LA Kings played game 64 of the 82-game NHL regular season on Thursday, coming off a disjointed 4-1 win over the New York Islanders in their previous game on Tuesday. The Kings, though, were riding a 3-game winning streak as they were hosting maybe the best team in the NHL, the Washington Capitals, who checked in with 94 points, tied with the Winnipeg Jets for the most in the NHL. Washington also came in as the best road team in the NHL with a 22-7-2 record. They would face an LA Kings team that had the best home winning percentage in the NHL with a 21-3-4 record at Crypto.com Arena. Add to that, we had two players traded for each other going head-to-head, LA goalie Darcy Kuemper against Washington forward Pierre Luc Dubois. Toss in a chance for the Kings to move into second place, the Pacific Division, with 2 points. And this was a big game. As far as the starting lineup for the LA Kings, same lineup we have seen now for the last 4 games since the trade deadline. Kings sticking with that 12-6 setup. Andrei Kopitar would be centering Adrian Kempe and Andrei Kuzmenko. Philip Deneau would center Warren Foegele and Trevor Moore. Quinton Byfield centering Alex Laferriere and Kevin Fiala. And Samuel Holenius with Tanner Jeannot and Alex Turcotte on his wings. Akil Thomas and Trevor Lewis would once again be the forwards who were healthy scratches. As for the defensive pairings, Mikey Anderson would be with Drew Doughty, Vladislav Gavrikov with Brant Clark, and Joel Edmondson with Jordan Spence. On the third pairing, Jacob Moverara and Kyle Burrows were the Kings' healthy scratches as far as the blue line. And in net, you would have Darcy Kuemper getting the start with David Riddick serving as the backup. As for the big question going into this game, pretty simple. Would the Kings elevate their game against one of the better teams in the NHL? Before the game, Kings head coach Jim Hiller was asked if this was a statement type game, a measuring stick type game, and he said, quote, well, he said, yes, it is, saying, quote, it's late enough in the season where you could say that these are the teams you have to beat. So do you want to be serious? And if you are, then you have to bring your A game, end quote. Well, would the Kings bring their A game against the Washington Capitals? The answer was yes. The Kings getting off to a good start in this one. They were obviously ready to compete right from the opening faceoff. And eventually LA would grab a 1-0 lead on a hardworking blue-collar goal from forward Warren Foegele. After a scoreless second period, the Kings would score 2 goals in the opening 2 minutes of the third period. First, Kevin Fiala would score a power play goal on a one-timer, and then right after that, he would set up Quinton Byfield on a 2-on-1, and the Kings would suddenly have a 3-0 lead. LA would stand strong defensively. Goalie Darcy Kuemper would have a solid game, and in the end, the Kings skate off with a pretty convincing 3-0 shutout win over the Capitals. LA improving to 35-20-9 on the season, 22-3-4 at home, and they are currently riding a 4-game winning streak, and the Kings are now in second place in the Pacific Division. We will update you on the standings coming up a little bit later. As for the game stats in this one, this was an even game for the most part. Now, certainly the Kings made the big plays to get the goals, but it was a hard-fought, competitive game. The Kings, though, earning their breaks in this one. LA with a 3-0 win. Shots on goal did favor LA 27-21. That's a pretty good number of shots on goal for the Kings, while limiting a very good Washington team to only 21 shots is great. As far as the special teams go, good news, bad news for the Kings. They actually won the special teams battle, scoring a power play goal on 4 opportunities. Good to see them draw 4 power plays in a game. That doesn't happen much. But the Kings also taking away too many penalties. 0 for 5 was Washington on the power play, but 5 power play opportunities. That's too many for the Kings to give up. As far as the faceoffs won, LA improving in this department, which I think is going to be something big for them going forward, especially in the playoffs. They won 29 faceoffs to the Capitals 27. Hits were even at 21 apiece, and block shots were even at 10 apiece. So what was good for the LA Kings from a team standpoint? Well, a lot. First and foremost, the Kings' compete level was right there, right at the start, and pretty much did not let up until the final horn. The Kings' defensive coverage much, much better than it was in the previous game against the Islanders. There were so many breakdowns. The Islanders had so many chances, but they couldn't finish, and Darcy Kemper made some big saves. The Kings could not give up those kind of chances against a team like Washington, and they didn't. The Kings had some pretty good scoring chances in this one, capitalized on a few of them. The Kings didn't allow Washington many grade A scoring chances. And again, the Kings didn't cash in on all their opportunities, but they did on enough to get enough goals to win this one. And the Kings' penalty kill was excellent. What was not so good for the Kings from a team standpoint? Well, still, I mentioned too many penalties. The Kings have now been shorthanded 13 times in the last 2 games. Now, to their credit, they've killed off all 13 penalties, which is crazy, but need to do a better job of staying out of the box. Only one of the 5 penalties was a good penalty. Drew Doughty taking a penalty to prevent a grade A scoring chance. Those are acceptable. Those are understandable. The rest, not so much. There was still some issues with the Kings finishing off some chances on the rush. Warren Fogle had a break-in shorthanded, never got a shot off. Andrei Kuzmenko came out of the penalty box for a 2-on-1 with Adrian Kempe. They couldn't connect on the setup, and Warren Fogle and Trevor Moore had a 2-on-1. They didn't get a shot off. So there's still some things the Kings could clean up to at least get shots on goal when they get some quality opportunities. As far as our coach's quote from head coach Jim Hiller, he said about this win over the Washington Capitals, quote, "It was a really good game. Like I said, full 60 minutes. I thought where we did a really good job was back checking. There's a number of different ways you can describe it with tracking back, having numbers. We didn't really give them much off the rush coming through the neutral zone. We made them dump it and try to forecheck us. If we had a game plan, we played it as well, adhered to it as well for 60 minutes each player as we could do," end quote. So it's a big takeaway from this game. Pretty simple. This is one of the best wins of the season for the LA Kings, considering the quality of opponent, considering how this opponent has played on the road, considering that the Kings played a solid 3 periods, certainly not perfect, but high quality hockey from the LA Kings through 3 periods. Jim Miller talked about the Kings bringing their A game in a big matchup. They absolutely did that. Kings are now 10-0 at home against teams that are currently the top 3 in each division. So the top 3 teams in each division, each of the 4 divisions, get automatic playoff spots. And those top 12 teams are generally considered the best teams in the NHL. So 10-0 against those teams like Washington, Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado, Tampa Bay, Vegas, Edmonton. The Kings haven't lost to any of those teams at home. So the home record is obviously excellent, and it's undefeated against the best teams in the NHL. Another huge win on home ice against a very, very good team for the Kings. So clearly, the Kings are one of the best, if not the best, home team in the NHL, and they've proved it against the best teams in the league. So when you talk about how important home ice advantage is for a team, I don't know that there's a team in the NHL that it's more important to than the LA Kings. And that's why home ice advantage in the first round, at least, is a big deal for the LA Kings. And we'll talk about the details on that a little bit later on. All right, let's get into some of the individual performances for the LA Kings in their win over the Capitals. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? Use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is the only place that you need to go. Stop struggling to find your job post and seeing them seen on sites. When Indeed sponsored job posts put your site at the top of the page to help you reach the right candidates faster. If you've been in a spot where you need to hire right away, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback, that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored job posts come in handy. They'll make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. And ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smarter than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Use LOCKEDONNHL for 50 off your first year. Let's talk about some individual performances for the LA Kings in their win over the Washington Capitals. And we will start with a former Capital, and that is Darcy Kuemper. 21 saves for his third shutout of the season. Had some quality saves. I wouldn't say he stood on his head to get this win, but he certainly did his part. The defense certainly did their part in front of him. Add it all up, you get a great shutout win over a really good team. But as I mentioned, this was also a little bit different for Darcy Kuemper, facing his old team for the first time. This was the first meeting of the season between the Kings and Capitals was in DC in December. David Riddick started that game. So this was Darcy's first chance to face his old team. Lost his starting job last year with the Capitals and then was shipped off to LA in the offseason. Kuemper was asked afterwards about facing his old team, and not surprisingly, he took the high road. He said, quote, it wasn't really about playing the old team tonight. It was about playing one of the best teams in the league. We wanted to be at our best, and I thought we were. Those are the kinds of wins that make the group feel good, end quote. Certainly true about that. But there's no way you're going to convince me that Darcy Kuemper didn't have a little extra juice for this game and didn't feel a little bit extra special with the win over his old team. Kuemper now 11-0-1 in his last 12 home starts, 13-1-2 overall at home this year, and an overall record of 21-8-7 on the season. Looks like he's certainly locking it down as we go down the stretch here and head into the playoffs. And I think the Kings are certainly better off in net than they were a year ago, which obviously is a positive as the Kings look to get some playoff success this time around. Kevin Fiala, before I get into Kevin, I have been saying that the two Kings' top goal scorers, Kevin Fiala and Adrian Kempe, need to try and combine for at least 8 shots on goal per game. They had 5 on Tuesday against the Capitals. They had 9 shots on goal combined. Fiala had 6. Kempe had 3. For Kevin Fiala, big goal and a big assist in this one in the opening 2 minutes of the third period to really kind of break the game open. I said Fiala had kind of cooled off a bit. Certainly that was not the case, though, in this one. Scored the Kings' second goal of the game on the power play. Perfect one-timer from Andrei Kopitar. Nice cross-ice pass, and he left no doubt, Kevin Fiala, putting it perfectly in the top right corner of the net. An absolutely unstoppable shot. That is high skill. 25th of the year for Fiala as far as goals scored. His 9th on the power play, which leads the team. And he also added an assist right after that on a nice feed on a 2-on-1 with Quinton Byfield for his 19th assist of the year and 44th point on the season. Last 15 games for Kevin Fiala, he has 9 goals and 15 points. Quinton Byfield, Q now has a goal in 5 straight games, finishing off that nice pass from Kevin Fiala to score the 3rd goal of the season. Byfield crisscrossing behind Fiala to get in a nice shooting position to be able to score on a one-timer. That was Q's 16th goal of the season. And again, 5 straight games for Byfield with a goal. I mentioned on Tuesday's show that Byfield is putting himself maybe in the class of Fiala and Kempe as far as guys who are the better finishers on the team. Now, he still needs to do it consistently, but another great finish for Byfield in this one. You got to assume his confidence has got to be sky high right now, and certainly his play is as good as it's ever been in his very young career as he is finishing scoring opportunities and looking great. Warren Foegele scored the Kings' first goal, his 19th of the season, just a hard-working goal in front of the net. Puck found its way to him, had a couple of whacks at it, and the second attempt goes into the net. A blue-collar goal for the Kings. We've talked about it. Pucks and players to the net, and good things will happen. That's what happened with Warren Foegele as he continues to show what a great offseason addition he has been for the LA Kings. Hustle, guy sets a tone, aggressive to the net. 1 goal away from tying his career high, which he set last season. So Warren Foegele continues to be a big positive for the LA Kings. Trevor Moore did have an assist in this game. He is looking, I think, a lot more confident these days. He had one go off the post as well against the Capitals. He assisted on the Foegele goal, but just won a battle behind the net, pushed it towards the side of the net where Foegele was able to get there and get a couple of whacks at it. We mentioned earlier in the year talking about the players that were going to be important for the Kings down the stretch that needed to get on track. Kevin Fiala, Quinton Byfield, and Trevor Moore. And I think all those guys, I think we can feel pretty optimistic, pretty confident about where these guys are going late in the year and looking for them to be positives come playoff time, because they're going to need to be for the Kings to get that first series victory in quite some time. But again, I'm encouraged with where those 3 guys are heading right now. Andrei Kuzmenko, the trade deadline pickup for the Kings, still looking for his first point, but the Kings are 4-0 with him in the lineup. He hasn't obviously produced yet, but he is still, I think his addition has helped the Kings to kind of help fill out that forward slotting, right? Where they're just him on that top line, Turcotte now on the 4th line. It just feels like it's a more complete lineup. The Kings have gone to that 12-6 lineup since he's been brought in. And again, still looking for a point, but I still think his addition has been a positive one so far. And it just feels like this lineup for the LA Kings, the defense as well, is a great lineup for the Kings. And the entire D-corps, got to give it up to those guys, played a solid game, collapsing around Capitals players when they got anywhere close to a dangerous scoring area. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect game. There were a couple of times where the Caps had some chances, but in the end, really, really solid defensive game. And again, it's not just the goaltending, it's the defense as well. Great team defense, great goaltending. To shut out the Washington Capitals, that is a major accomplishment. Checking some of the team leaders for the Kings in that win over Washington. Goals from Foegele, Fiala, and Byfield. Nobody had a multi-point game on the night. You had Fiala. Actually, I correct myself. Fiala had a goal and an assist. So Kevin Fiala did have a 2-point night. Kopitar, Moore, Doughty, Gavrikov had the other assists. Gavrikov and Spence were both a +2. Kevin Fiala, 6 shots on goal to lead the team. Samuel Hellenius led the Kings in hits with 5. Tanner Jeannot had 2 block shots to lead the team. Mikey Anderson led the Kings in time on ice, 23 minutes and 59 seconds. I thought the distribution of minutes amongst the defensemen was better in this one. Drew Doughty, 22 minutes, 52 seconds. That's, I think, much more manageable for him. The Kings were much better in the faceoff circle. That's encouraging. Only Philip Deneau ended up losing more than he won. He won 6 and lost 7. Quinton Byfield actually led the Kings in faceoff winning percentage at 63.6. He won 7 faceoffs and lost 4. And that's certainly a part of his game he's been looking to improve on as well. And he did a good job of it in this one. All right, coming up next, we will name our 3 stars of the night for the Kings win in over the Capitals. We'll also update you on the latest Pacific Division standings, and we're going to talk about a player that was booed all night long. That is next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and with FanDuel, it makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. UCLA is facing Wisconsin on Friday in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. Bruins are getting 1.5 in that one. You could place a bet on UCLA to win the Big Ten Tournament. They are at plus 1,100. How about for the Bruins to win the whole thing, win the national championship? They're a plus 10,000. Got a lucky feeling about UCLA? We'll go to FanDuel and take a chance to win at glory. With tournament games happening almost every day, there is always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, we talked about Darcy Kemper facing his old team. We had two former Kings back in LA for the first time, defenseman Matt Roy and forward Pierre Luc Dubois. And with all due respect to Matt Roy, all the Kings fans' energy was squarely on P.L. Dubois, who was booed throughout the night every time he touched the puck. Ended up being a -1 on the night. Of course, he was traded for Darcy Kemper. And, in a vacuum, you could talk about how that trade was good for both teams. But I think the question is, and has to be asked, why is Pierre Luc Dubois playing well in Washington when he wasn't in Los Angeles? He's on pace to get 70 points this year, and that would be a new career high. He's being praised by Capitals coach Spencer Carberry for his defensive game, even touting Dubois as a future Selke Trophy winner, which goes out to the league's top defensive forward. Now, we'll see about that. But there is no doubt that Pierre-Luc Dubois is playing good hockey in DC, and the Caps, at least for now, are very happy to have him. So again, why didn't it work in LA? And I guess I'll just say what I said at the time. I think there's blame to go around. I'm not sure GM Rob Blake really considered how Pierre-Luc Dubois really fit into the Kings system. I'm not sure that then head coach Todd McClellan wanted Dubois or knew how he wanted to use him. And PLD himself didn't exactly, play with a lot of heart and a lot of hustle. And he even admitted in an interview recently that he wasn't up to the challenge, was the way he phrased it. Now, that said, Pierre-Luc Dubois has always said the right things. Whenever you've heard him talk, he always comes off like he knows what the issue is, and he points the finger at himself. Well, whether he really believes that or not, or he's just saying the right things, I don't know. But, when he got shipped off to Washington, did he have a come to Jesus moment and think, what am I doing with my career? I signed this big deal and this team wants to get rid of me. Maybe he looked in the mirror and said, I've got to be better. And he's being better. I don't know. I haven't watched enough Washington Capitals game to be able to tell you exactly why it's worked. Again, was he just a good fit in Washington's system? Are they utilizing him properly? He's playing, I believe, most of the time in the top six. I think he's playing centering the second line. Are they using him properly? Is that why it didn't work in LA? Again, it's probably a combination of things. And I don't think at this point anyone really cares. But the bottom line is Pierre-Luc Dubois is working in Washington. It did not work in LA. Both teams, though, moving on. And at least for one night, the Kings, with Darcy Kemper and net, got the big win. And Pierre-Luc Dubois leaves Los Angeles without a victory. There was one other subplot in a game that had a ton of them, with Washington Capitals star Alexander Ovechkin came into the game against the Kings 9 goals away from passing former Kings legend Wayne Gretzky for the most goals in NHL history. And I know a lot of fans were interested to see if he could get another goal and get closer to that milestone. Obviously, he didn't, with the Capitals not getting any goals. And to be honest, he wasn't much of a factor in this game at all. So Alexander Ovechkin still 9 goals away with just 12 games left to break Wayne Gretzky's record this season. I think he's going to need at least one multi-goal game to have a legitimate shot at it. We shall see, but he didn't get any goals. against the LA Kings. Checking the Pacific Division standings, the Vegas Golden Knights shut out Columbus on Thursday. That gave them 85 points on the year with a record of 39-19-7. They are in first place in the Pacific Division. The Los Angeles Kings are now in second place in the Pacific Division, 35-20-9, the record for 79 points. So they are now 1 point up on Edmonton. They would have home ice advantage in the playoffs if the season ended today, which obviously it doesn't. And the LA only 6 points back of Vegas for first in the division. Now, they have played one fewer game than the Golden Knights, so they have a game in hand. And there is one head-to-head matchup with Vegas coming up the rest of the way. As for the Oilers, they lost to the Devils on Thursday 3-2. They've lost, I think it's 7 of 11 or something like that. Their record 37-24-4 for 78 points. So again, 1 point behind the Kings now for the third place now in the division. Edmonton's now in third place. And again, the Kings have a game in hand on the Oilers. They've got 2 head-to-head matchups with Edmonton. So some big games coming up as this battle for home ice in a potential first-round playoff matchup certainly is heating up. Oilers will be in action on Friday. They're in New York to face the Islanders. And Calgary, 30-23-11 for 71 points. They are a wild card team right now, and they will host the Avalanche coming up on Friday. All right, up next for the LA Kings, another home game on Saturday as they will welcome the Nashville Predators to town. LA looking to extend their winning streak now to 5 in a row. And the Kings obviously coming off a huge win. Hopefully they can keep it going as they take on a team that is not going to make the playoffs this year. All right, for you everydayers, those of you listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on Friday, it is our weekly Kings fan feedback show. I can't wait to hear what some of your thoughts are on the Kings a week later after there were a lot of people kind of panicking about this team. Probably feeling a little bit better right now. It'll be fun to read some of those emails. Anything that's on your mind, you can send an email to the show, lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. And you're always welcome to post your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comments section. Appreciate that. And stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you as always for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We will talk to you on Friday. And as always, go Kings, go.